Good evening once again. Many thanks for joining the program. The news in detail with me, Gloria Mutesi. Starting us off tonight, President Paul Kagame believes that the achievements of the fight against terrorism in the province of Cabo Delgado are an example of the possibility of a stable partnership between African countries. The president made the remarks at the Mozambique Armed Forces Day celebrations on Saturday in Pemba, Cabo Delgado province. Ethan Tashobia begins our coverage tonight.
For the first time in 50 years, Mozambique's Armed Forces Day was celebrated in Cabo Delgado province at the Liberation Stadium in Pemba, the provincial capital of the area. In the presence of President of Mozambique, Filipe Nyusi, and his Rwandan counterpart, President Paul Kagame, who was on a two-day working visit in Cabo Delgado, the celebrations of the day were warmed by the display of military arsenal and parade. The day comes after Rwandan and Mozambican forces collaborated to dislodge the ISIL-linked terror groups from Cabo Delgado province, a feat highly commended by President Paul Kagame.
This shows that Africans are capable and that by working well together, we can find solutions to even our most difficult problems. Nothing should stop us from ensuring the stability, progress, and well-being of the people of our continent.
In his remarks, President Filipe Nyusi of Mozambique described his Rwandan counterpart as someone who is passionate about helping African people and consolidating their African dignity.
Thank you, Mr. President Kagame, for the words of hope and trust when we took the message of the Mozambicans to invite Rwanda to be part of the SADC team and coordinated by Mozambique. The President Kagame responded on very simple words. If the neighbor's house is on fire, we do not wait for the next or the other neighbor. You that saw the house burning, please go and put up the fire. This is how he responded to it. Go and put out the fire. At a different moment or occasion, he said on so many words and asked me if you drive. If you're driving and you find people in an accident and someone who is somehow dying and needs assistance, you do not wait for the ambulance that was called upon. Take him to the hospital. This is, in so many words, what he told me himself.
In July this year, Rwanda deployed about 1,000 military and police officers to restore security in parts of the province of Cabo Delgado, which had been hit by insurgents for the last 5 years. President Paul Kagame says that like all Mozambicans, the people of Cabo Delgado deserve the best, which is why Rwanda took it upon themselves to intervene when the government of Mozambique came requesting for help.
The people of Cabo Delgado, like in the rest of Mozambique, need peace and safety to live their lives, take care of their families, and contribute to the development of their country. In fact, we all need this, no matter what nation we come from. This is why Rwanda did not hesitate when we were invited to join our armed forces together with the Mozambican forces to bring security back to this region.
After attending the Army Day celebrations, President Paul Kagame wrapped up his two-day working visit in Pemba, Cabo Delgado province in Mozambique. Reporting for RwandaTV News, Ethan Tashobia.
Let's bring it back home here, where bar owners whose operations had come to a halt due to the COVID-19 pandemic say they've now submitted all the required documents for them to resume business, and they vowed to adhere to all COVID-19 guidelines. It's while the Rwanda Development Board emphasizes that failure to comply may result to closure of the bars. Gabi Muvunyi now reports.
Bars across the country have been inactive for a year and a half, causing thousands of employees to lose their jobs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Before the pandemic, there were at least 60,000 people who had jobs in this sector. As a result, some bars had converted into restaurants but still continue to offer alcoholic beverages. After the long wait, bars are set to gradually reopen with strict adherence to the COVID-19 preventive measures. We have applied for a permit so that we can resume operations. What RDB, Minisante, requires us to do, we have completed. We are very excited.
The
first thing we did was to vaccinate all the staff, and we will also test them every 14 days. Our tables and chairs are set up the right way. We have sanitizers. We properly wear our masks. We shall continue to follow all the procedures to show the government that we can achieve the set goals. In addition to bars resuming operations gradually, bars that had converted to restaurants need to apply for a permit in order to resume their services. On the other hand, people who go to bars acknowledge that they need to follow the guidelines in order to avoid closure of the bars. It seems that 50% of those who go to the bars are vaccinated. That rate is good enough. We shall keep the social distance whenever we're in there. Even though someone gets drunk, they should still comply to the guidelines. The head of Department of Tourism Regulation at RDB stresses that as bars are set to reopen, they can close again in the event of breach of any safety regulations. They should try to understand that it is teamwork, because one slight mistake, the numbers will rise again. RBC will do regular research to see if opening the bars will have any effect. It has taken a lot of effort for us and other businesses and the tourism sector to make the public feel that it is possible. It requires us to work together so that in the next cabinet meeting, this decision is not reconsidered. The cabinet meeting on Tuesday, September 21st, 2021, resolved to open bars progressively following the reduction of COVID-19 cases in the country. The health authorities are urging everyone to comply to the guidelines so that other closed activities can be addressed soon. Gabi Muvunyi, reporting for RTV News.
Some of the families of prisoners in various prisons across the country are asking for a call center to be availed to be able to access information about their people while in prison. The Rwanda Correctional Services says it's working on establishing a toll-free line as well as to expedite vaccination in the prisons so as to resume prison visits. Gasangwa Constantine has been in Nyarugenge prison for 4 years. Together with his colleagues, they say that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they've not been visited by their families since early 2020. Due to the lockdown, our families haven't seen us since then. We are always concerned that we didn't have any information about each other. However, in an effort to find solutions, the Rwanda Correctional Services says they've established a telephone line for prisoners to communicate with their families. Each prisoner is allowed 5 minutes to communicate with their people. A cross-section of prisoners say they are glad this initiative is in place at a time visiting isn't allowed. They give us 5 minutes now since the phone was put in place, but it's still challenging for us because you have to wait for all the other people to call and then have to buy another airtime card. Protecting people is one thing, but for us to know information about our people is also important. Hence why this phone came as a solution for us. Some family members whose people are in prison are also happy to be able to reach them. During the last lockdown, for example, our person fell critically ill and they called us. We found them in Kanombe Hospital. I thank the government of Rwanda for having thought of that initiative. It's a great one. Sometimes without communication, one wonders if their person is alive. So when they call us, we thank God for hearing from them. Nonetheless, calls are being made for a call center to be established for families to call and access information about their people in prison instead of waiting for the prisoners to call them. If they could put a toll-free line, it would help us a lot because, for example, we might lose someone at home and we need to pass on this information to the person in prison. But since the only means of communication is when they have to call us, it becomes hard to exchange information. SSP Peli Uwera Gakwaya, the spokesperson of the Rwanda Correctional Service, says that there was a plan to set up an unpaid line at each prison where family members would call and get information about their people. Truthfully, the prisoners are many and the time currently given to them is limited, but it at least gives them the basic communication with their families. But officials from the Rwanda Correctional Services have decided to start the use of short codes as communication channels for families to be able to keep in touch with their people and know how they are doing. The Rwanda Correctional Services says COVID-19 vaccination is ongoing in all prisons across the country, making it a possibility for prison visits to resume soon for those that have a negative COVID-19 test. A cross-section of service providers in various fields say good customer care has been a catalyst for their development, and it's while the Rwanda Governance Board is urging the public to provide information about poor services because good service is of central importance. While speaking with service providers in various fields, including local authorities, those that seek bank services, restaurants and other areas of service, they say that although steps in the right direction have been taken in terms of better service delivery, there are some things that need to be improved. For instance, the health sector is still lacking in terms of proper service delivery. The restaurant business is trying, but there's also room for improvements.
What I can say, according to what I see, yeah, I do agree with the government because they want to achieve more. You know, like we always learn how to do better than what we did yesterday or better than what we did in the past. But what I appreciate what we have now. I've been traveling in different countries, but I haven't seen exactly the same thing as what we do in Kigali, what we do in Rwanda. Our country is doing their best to promote this, to achieve more in this. So according to the services, what I can say is like to keep it up and keep learn more the way you can do the best thing than what you did yesterday.
Like the old age mantra goes, the customer is king. Some people already understand that the customer comes first and better customer care attracts more clientele.
One thing is that we understand the needs of our clients. We know that our clients, majority of them are not formally educated, so they don't fully understand financial services and how they are delivered. So what we do, first and foremost, we deliver financial literacy trainings. So we train them on how to do businesses, how to do pricing, how to separate your household income from business income. And then we have staff that are very close to them that go and sit down with them under shades in front of local authority offices, in front of schools, and they interact and they first take out that fear of approaching a financial institution.
Imani Bora is an entrepreneur and he says that the culture of good service delivery should be instilled in young people while in school. Currently, entrepreneurship and self-employment is the way to go. Customer care should be taught to children at a young age. Proper social skills is not maths that can be taught in class. It starts from childhood. So imparting that skill in adulthood becomes hard and it takes time. So this should be imparted from school curriculums from a young age and they understand the significance of proper customer care in their day-to-day work. Research conducted by the Rwanda Governance Board shows that in 2020, the population was satisfied with service delivery at a rate of 71.3% from 70.4% in 2019. RGB officials believe it's everyone's responsibility in ensuring proper service delivery. The public is encouraged to give this information and to not just accept poor services given to them. For example, if you go to a restaurant to ask for a cold soda and they bring a warm one and they've opened it even before, when you accept that and take that warm soda, then this person won't learn the wrong thing they've done and they'll continue to give the bad service. So let's all say no to poor service. Proper service delivery is an indisputable way to contribute to the acceleration of the national economy. Experts in culture and education believe that more effort should be made to promote literacy in Rwanda so that the country can achieve the desired development. Let's now hear from Gabi Muvunyi.
In 2012, the government of Rwanda established a public library in Kigali to ease readers' experience. Despite these efforts, the library doesn't receive as much readers as desired.
Before COVID-19 pandemic, we registered about 700 patrons per day. But during this period of COVID-19 pandemic, we are experiencing a bad situation whereby the attendance is decreasing from 700 patrons to 100 patrons per day. Comparatively to the Kigali city population, we are seeing that the ratio of attending this library is low. As you know, here we assist or we record patrons from schools like students and different researchers, but when you see the statistics regarding the private sector personnel, we have few people coming from the private sector visiting this library. So we are encouraging people to come here and read, as we have different programs. We have a free internet, we have a free access to library resources. So we are calling upon each and everyone to come and read books, as our library is inclusive.
Culture and education researchers say that paving the way to improving the reading culture in Rwanda will require tremendous efforts. The reading culture is new to Rwanda. We are used to verbally telling stories and speaking out our minds. Reading and writing isn't really for everyone here. On the other hand, there are those that say that the lack of reading culture in Rwanda can hinder the direction of Rwanda's development. In efforts to further the culture of reading, the Ministry of Education has made efforts to encourage young people to read books and also have plans to acquire books in Braille.
UNICEF is one of the partners working with the government of Rwanda to promote literacy and promote reading. And also UNICEF is working with the Ministry of Education and the Rwanda Basic Education Board to support access to education for children with disabilities. And we're also supporting the development of accessible digital textbooks in primary school that can be accessible to children with disability to support their learning. And we're working with schools to build the capacity of teachers to use these materials, in particular to support the learning for children with disabilities.
Borrowing a book at the Kigali Library costs 10,000 francs for adults, while 5,000 francs for children. Gabi Muvunyi, reporting for RTV News.